So our guest this morning is Kasia Gospos. She has been named one of Australia's most inspirational women online and was recognised as an Entrepreneur of the Year as part of the Stevie Awards. Kasia's venture, LH Agenda, supports women in business and has become a platform women can turn to for guidance, shared experiences and and insights. Through a premium stationery and brand line, she supports an online community to nurture, inspire and empower women. Welcome, Kasia, and thank you so much for joining us today for Startup Stories.
And do I face it this way or it will work? Okay, great, thank you. Thank you for the introduction. Before we begin, I want to start with, I want to give you a number. So 75 is a percentage of small businesses that fail during the first 4 years of business in Australia. I was invited here to speak to you because I'm one of the lucky ones who didn't fail during this time. And I've been in business now for over 10 years. And during this time, I learned some very important lessons. And today I want to tell you about the 3 most important lessons that I learned during this time. So hopefully, if you are in business, you will be in that 25% statistic. The first lesson is to, if you want to be passionate in business, you have to have a why. If you want to be successful in business, you have to have a why and be passionate about what you do, because business is not easy. When I came to Australia, I was born in Poland, and I came to Australia in 2008. You might have noticed I have an accent. And I was working as a management accountant in finance department. During this time, I've noticed differences between my previous workplace in Poland and in Australia. I saw women struggling with confidence and sometimes doing the jobs they didn't really want to do. One day, a female colleague came to me and she was disappointed that she didn't get a job in a department that was available at the time. So I asked her, what did our boss say to you when you asked him? And she, looked down on the floor, started fidgeting with her hands, and she said, I never asked him. So this really bothered me. Like, she didn't have such a lack of confidence that she didn't even tell him that she was interested in a role, and she was definitely ready, and she missed that opportunity. And after, being more attentive to what's happening around me, I saw more and more stories like this. And this became my why, my driver. I wanted to help women like her succeed in business, become the leader of their own life, and create careers and life they truly loved. So in 2011, I started a blog. Initially, it was called Leaders in Heels. And I started interviewing successful women in business and sharing their stories on the blog. The blog, even though I was still working a 9-to-5 job, the blog was growing really fast. And we were operating like a magazine. We had multiple editors responsible for different sections, and we had an advertising agent who provided us with regular sponsorship opportunities and ads. And we were also a community. We were organizing big events like this one in the middle. I know it's not very sharp. This event had 150 attendees, and it was chaired by Sex Discrimination Commissioner. And she was chatting about gender diversity to 6 CEOs from blue chip companies in Australia. We had over 150,000 followers, and our website page views were cumulative ones were already in millions. But suddenly, in that 2014, our agent announced that they are closing down, and we basically lost 90% of our revenue. Advertising was becoming more competitive, and we were moving more, like the business in advertising business was moving more towards programmatic advertising, which means that you basically use ad bidding software to buy ads rather than the way how agency was operating. So this business model didn't survive, but my why of helping women step confidently into their leadership was still there. So we were thinking about what else can we do to help women become better leaders. And that's when we started transitioning to a stationery-based business. So in 2014, we launched our first product, Make Your Mark. And the Make Your Mark notebooks was a simple notebook what was filled with inspirational quotes, leadership lessons that we learned and published on the interviews on our blog. And the notebook was a success. So we basically choose to continue that path. But even though we were safe, it didn't miraculously remove all our problems. One day this happened when the parcel arrived from China. And one day we also received a cease and desist email asking us that we will dispose all our planners that we just produced, 8,000 of them. And also when we were running a business, 1 year, my husband and I welcomed our first baby, which means the baby just decided to come in October, which means this is our Christmas season. And we were working very long hours with my baby strapped to me. So there were many times when I thought, it would be so much easier to work a 9-to-5 job. But if you're passionate about something, if you have a why, you just don't give up. You find a way, but you need to find your why first, and then you will find a way. The second lesson is that if you want to survive in business, your business has to be lean. So as I already mentioned, our first business model failed, but we were lean. So we were easily able to move from one business model to another. All our editors were freelancers. Their payouts was commission-based. We didn't have any long-term contract or high overheads. When we moved to a print to stationery-based business, this is a completely different industry. And in printing business, offset printer setup costs are very high. So you have to produce at least 2,000 units of one unit, of one SKU, which obviously is a high risk. So when we decided to launch our Make Your Mark notebook, we didn't just go and produce 2,000 units. We created a crowdfunding campaign. And during this time, I didn't have much experience with marketing and crowdfunding. We created a really simple slideshow video, and my friend was doing a voiceover. And the product that we created was also very basic. So the notebook on the left is the notebook that we launched. This notebook doesn't even open flat. I didn't know much about binding during that time. And it was produced in Australia, so we didn't really have much choices. And the notebook on the right was really, I just cringe when I see it. It's a prototype. It's a prototype I created to pitch the idea. And we still managed to raise $10,000 in 3 days for this campaign. So in business, I've been wearing many hats. I was a photographer and a stylist. We didn't hire many people to do many different jobs. We were trying to do as much as possible in-house. And as I mentioned, I was still working a 9-to-5 job. So this is me leaving parcels on the porch of our neighbor when I was going to work because they had to pick up parcel from somewhere. So we were leaving them basically outside on the neighbor's porch. And so as a qualified management accountant, I can't stress enough how strong financial management is important in business. And weak financial management is what kills businesses. In fact, in Australia, poor financial management is listed as the #1 reason why small businesses fail. And you can really do a lot with a limited budget. So Make Your Mark was even on the morning show of Channel 10, and we didn't pay a cent for this publicity. When the pandemic, so the way how we run our business now, we still run it from home, just a bigger house. We have a storage in our oversized garage. We have 2 rooms converted into an office space, and we only rent external storage during Christmas time when the major supply comes in. We sell as much as possible. We move out by the end of January. We don't pay a full year of rent. So when the pandemic came 2 years ago, we were not panicking. We knew we were safe because we were lean. And we were hit by the pandemic because corporate orders disappeared and events disappeared, and that's a big part of our business. The next lesson is the last lesson that I want to share is that it's really important to diversify your business. You probably heard a million times, don't put all your eggs in one basket. Well, we learned that lesson in 2021 the hard way. Our supplier was affected by the pandemic with multiple lockdowns in China. And as a result of that, they had issues with having sufficient production staff. I remember waiting for our production to finish. It usually takes 4 to 6 weeks. And at the end of the week 5, I sent him an email asking, how is the production going? Like really casually, wasn't really aware of anything was going on. And he didn't email for a few days. So I emailed him again, and he further a few days, and he still hasn't emailed me back. So I started kind of like really worrying about this. Obviously, you put a prepayment for your order in advance. And so I emailed him again, and as much as I felt the relief that he responded to me, my heart stopped when I read the email. He said, Kasia, your planners will be delayed by 1 month. This is something that I dreaded, but 1 month wasn't still bad. But unfortunately, 1 month turned into 2 months, turned into 4 months, turned into 6. By the time we just basically realized that we are not going to get these planners, it was too late for us to find a new supplier. So the pandemic had a delayed ripple effect on our business through the whole supply chain. We didn't produce many products that year, and when they arrived in Australia, they were not the same quality as we used to have. It was really heartbreaking. We spent many days reviewing each product individually and checking everything because they were not the same, and quality was very important to us. Just so you know, these are some of our beautiful products that we offer. We offer beautiful planners with quilting. We offer personalization. Our products are often given to corporate buyers. Typically, they are gifts, like a congratulation gift or welcome in our, office. So we really want to make sure that they are, beautiful and perfect. So if you have a business, I have a task for you. I want you to do a risk audit. So there are different types of risk I listed. Supplier risk, this is where we failed. We had only one supplier, and it took a really big hit on our turnover last year. Do you have one supplier in your business, or do you have that risk diversified? What about country risk? Everything we were buying was from China. What's going to happen if there is, if China blocks the trade with Australia? There were already some tensions between China and Australia. And what about there's a war? Maybe China will support Russia, and suddenly we are not able to trade. What about sales risk? Maybe all your sales come from Instagram popularity. What if your account gets hacked and you don't have any reach through Instagram? What about your personal risk? If you get sick, is your still able to continue running while you're taking an unplanned break? And what about product risk? What if you can't source your product or it's no longer in demand? Do you just sell one product? This is our way of diversifying product. During the last 2 years, we're starting thinking about that we can maybe create other things that leaders can receive as gifts, something that you can put an inspirational leadership message, and you can personalize them. So we created earrings, credit cards, holders, and we also were trying to digitize some of our product. Our career designer is available as a digital. Our planners are available as a digital download, and our Make Your Mark will be digital soon as well. So the lesson to remember is just don't put all your eggs in one basket. Try to diversify your business as much as you can, because this will help you survive. I can't stress enough how these 3 lessons were important for me. Have a why, operate financially lean as much as possible, and diversify your business. I hope these lessons resonated in some way with you, and you will be able to take them with you and use them in your business. If you need more help, I have a special offer. If you're interested, I'm offering to startup groups a backstage pass to my business, where you will be able to see behind the scenes and get a sneak peek of how we run our business. and you will be able to ask and bounce any ideas of me if you need help with anything. I learned many lessons during these 10 years. Apart from these 3 lessons, there's many other lessons. And if this is something that's exciting to you, you can apply through the link there. If this link is a little bit difficult to write down, I can email this to you if you email me, kasia@lhagenda.com. And if all good? I just see that someone is writing. And if you are not at this stage, maybe you're still trying to find out what you're passionate about, we have on our website free passion discovery printables, where I hope this will help you find your why. It's basically when you sign up to our website, you will receive it in your welcome email. And to finish, I want to give you another important number. 25 is the percentage of businesses that survive that 4th year of business. And I hope this will be you, because the world needs you and your agenda. No, I'm good. Thank you.
You're okay. Thank you so much, Kasia. It's always nice to be reminded of a lot of those sorry, I should be speaking into the mic. It's really nice to be reminded of some of those business hurdles that, you know, companies go through or founders go through at the early stages. And it's kind of easy to forget that the lesson learned is a lesson earned, and it's something that you need to share with other people, because in the day-to-day business, you can kind of forget what you've learned and how you've progressed. So I really appreciate you sharing those lessons. Thank you so much. So first of all, we're going to jump off with some questions that were asked by registrants, and we've kind of grouped them into 2 areas. One's business related, an area of business related, and the other is challenge related. So I'll jump off with the first question, which is from Sonia Carpenter from the University of Newcastle. And they're asking, what was the reasoning behind choosing stationery as the marketable product to represent the LH Agenda ethos and manifesto? Or was the idea of selling stationery the initial thought and then the rest followed?
Okay. So she mentioned the manifesto. I didn't tell you about this, but she probably look up our website. We are a value-based business. We have a manifesto that outlines 6 leadership traits that our leaders live by. And so before even we find out that our agent is closing down, it was already our in talks. What else can we do to support our customers? What else can we give them to help them, you know, develop leadership traits? And reading articles was good, but there's just so much content in the world. And when you read an article, you feel inspired for a moment and then you forget. And we were looking at something that will help you create the habit. And stationery was something like this. We were able to put a message per day. For example, in a planner, you flip through to the next page. Maybe you're working in an office, you're making notes, and there's another message. And if you're exposed to those inspirational messages day in, day out, they will become habit and they will be ingrained in your thinking, the way how you think. So that's why we picked stationery.
As someone who loves writing in a notebook, I totally appreciate that. And I can't wait to get my hands on a copy of the notebook, because the one I use at the moment has no messaging in it whatsoever. And as someone who loves like inspirational quotes and often forgets them, I'm really liking that idea. So we've got another question here from Lisa Glenn from Pair People, and they're asking, do you have a person or process in place to work through and perfect your branding?
So initially when I started, we didn't have any process. And because it was a hobby, obviously I wasn't really considering hiring a designer. I just did the logo myself, and it was what it was at the time. Now we have a style guideline. The style guidelines specify, you know, the fonts that we can use in business, the colors we can use, the type of images that we use, the type of images that we don't use. And that is really helpful in branding, because like when I create this presentation, I don't need to think about the design or the layout. It's already there, it's defined. All I need to put is embed some images and write the content.
Yes. And you can even like Google style guides for particular brands and they'll
Mhm.
typically come up as well. And it gives you
Mhm.
some good ideas for
Mhm.
elements in branding to consider because
Mhm.
it's really easy to take for granted. You know, it's not just a logo, it's a
Mhm.
whole bunch of
Yeah.
other assets as well.
Yeah, and especially when you have like multiple people in your team, and someone is responsible for email, someone is responsible for social media, you want to make sure that it's all cohesive look, and everyone has their own vision of what looks cool. And like if you, I don't know, start using Canva, they have just so many beautiful designs. It's like, oh, this is look cool, this looks cool, and you end up that your brand is just so diluted. One thing we also have from this year in business, we also have a supplier guideline. So just because we are starting to look at engaging different suppliers who produce the same products, we want to make sure that they come out from different factories, but look as if they were produced by the same factory. So we have a supplier guidelines in terms of how the tags are going to look like, how the labels look like, where we position our logo, what's the sizing.
Is that something, a lesson that you learned from the supplier in 2021, where you were saying you got the sort of the product through finally, but it wasn't as good a quality as what you'd had previously? Did that experience help inform what that brief to suppliers would be?
This resulted in us having another guideline, a quality guideline. So we're trying to think how we can make sure that business can run even when I'm not overlooking everything. And quality guideline is not just for us, but also for our supplier. We are going to be paying attention to this. You can't change, you can't replace, for example, buttons with different buttons because you are missing without our approval. And these things also happen. They don't tell you.
But it's a good fallback, right? Because if they do a switcheroo on a button, then you've got cause to say, well, we won't be paying for that product. Yeah, okay, that's a really good tip. The next question is from Alicia Edge from Compete Nutrition, and she's asking, what's the biggest breakthrough in building your community?
Okay, so there's no like magic formula. There's no one thing that would make it suddenly us grow our business and grow our community. We were organizing events and being like face to face with people. That definitely helped, especially in the early days when we were a magazine and a community and we publish content. People would engage with us a lot more on social media than right now when we are product-based business. When like there's nothing to comment on when I share my notebook, right? Multiple times on social media. So the community was growing a lot faster when we were a magazine and a community, when we had events. And I think also the crowdfunding campaign was a great way of growing our community because we had a reason to reach out to different, to all our network, asking, please support our crowdfunding campaign. We went to media, we went to Channel 10. So that definitely helped. But I just want to say, it's not like just because we were on TV, it suddenly spiked in our visibility. It didn't.
Oh, okay. So yeah, you kind of get this sugar high that like we're on TV and, but it's really hard to kind of gauge how people are going to respond to it, right? But I guess one of the things you can do is then, because everything gets put back up online after it happens in real time on television, that you can share on your socials and put it in your newsletter and get extra leverage from it that way as well.
Yeah, I think this is great for like PR and credibility.
Definitely. We've got a question here from Udipta Day from Well Automation, who's asking, what makes a good LH agenda product and how do you validate those early ideas?
Okay, so as you have seen, our first product was very basic, and at the early stages, like we would just ask friends and family and our community, what do you like? What do you want it to be? We show them different covers. But the biggest lessons is actually when you launch something and give it to your customers, and when people actually pay you for the product, this is the biggest feedback. This is when you learn if something is popular or not. So after we launched the first product, this is when we started to, learning. Oh, someone said to us, I love the idea of the Make Your Mark notebook, but that notebook also had some coaching exercises. And she said to us, I wouldn't want to take this to the workplace because it's too personal. And I would want to just a basic notebook, just have the quote and then a separate journal that helped me develop and work on myself. So the next iteration of the product was that we separated it into 2 different products. So I guess you learn by introducing it, giving it to the customer, asking their feedback and improving.
So you're product diversifying before you even knew that you were the 2 different products. The next question is from Yvette Elliott from Navitas, and they're asking, how important is networking for any business owner?
It's definitely important. Obviously, this is not just the only way how you run your business. You could know, I don't know, the Prime Minister, and if you don't do the hard work, he's not going to be able to help you. Networking has been essential in some areas of our business. There's one story, I mentioned that we received the cease and desist email. At the time, I was living in Balmain, and I was going very often to our cafe, buying coffee, and there were other people in that cafe that were buying coffee every day. And so we had a chat casually. We both had corgis, so we really chat very often. And one of the people there was a corporate lawyer. So when I find out that we received this letter, it's like, oh my gosh, do they have even right to ask me to dispose 8,000 of planners? And he was like, don't worry, I'm gonna contact my friend who is an IP lawyer, and she basically sent them an email that they have no grants to do that, and it was kind of solved easy, and I paid her in product. So I would say, yes, networking and the relationship matter.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're going to move on to the challenge-related questions. There's a few here. The first one's from Claire Shamley from Meraki Business Advisory, and they're asking, what advice do you have for any female entrepreneurs at the start of their journey and thinking about going full-time on their venture? Big step.
So my answer to this question is that it depends. It depends on what stage of life you are in, and maybe I'll tell you my story. So when we were running a business and we saw that it's picking up, but at the time we were also trying to have a baby and we were wanting to buy our first home. If we would just give up our jobs, we wouldn't be able to apply for a loan. So we would be forced always to rent. So for us, we didn't want to give up our jobs and put everything into producing planners and journals because we wanted to maximize our deposit. We wanted to make sure that we'll get a loan. So and I didn't have, I don't know, rich parents who can go and help me when, for example, I fail. So if someone, I don't know, is just graduating, maybe they are living still with parents, they don't have commitments, they're not planning to have a baby in the next 1 year, the situation is very different for everyone. It's not like there's a one answer to that question.
Yeah, I guess you've got to, it's kind of a sucky piece of advice, but you'll just know in your gut when the right time,
the answer's it's within you.
Yeah, it's within you. And also it'll just get to a breaking point, right?
Mm-hmm.
You've just got to make the leap. Otherwise you're not doing either justice. You're not doing your job properly, or you're not servicing the business effectively.
And there's another thing that depends also on the business. Creating anything, manufacturing anything takes so much time. You first think about the design, then, for example, in a book production, I have to work with copywriter, with a designer. It takes time, and once you place an order, before you place an order, you ask for a sample. Production of the sample is around 4 weeks. By the time it comes to Australia, it's 6 weeks. If there is something that you don't like, then it's again, you're going for another sample. When you place an order 4 to 6 weeks before it's finished, and then it comes on a ship from China, which takes another 3 weeks. Then it's in a port, Botany, for 1 week. before it comes to your warehouse, like it can be 6 to 1 year actually until you launch the product. So you don't want to give up your job thinking, yeah, like, yeah, I'm going to design stationery now. And then for a year, you do nothing.
Yeah, that's really, really good advice.
I also want to highlight that the world of employment is changing as well. Like so many more employers are now willing to hire part-time employees than it was used to be before. So before you maybe give up your full-time job completely, you could go part-time. And that's what I've done as well. I asked my boss initially to drop me to 4 days a week. Then later we were a little bit happy, then made it 9 days a fortnight. Anyway, it helped. It helped.
And that's a really great middle ground, because employers don't want to spend money retraining brand new staff. Like they'll probably be willing to negotiate on reduction in hours to keep you, because you've got so much corporate knowledge already and those connections within the business as well. I like that idea. The next question's from Kiara Koros from the University of Newcastle, who's asking, can you give us any advice how to keep working in this modern world where there exists an equity between women and men in business?
So I always go back to our manifesto. You know, I feel like we should just simply show up in business. Like, no, it's not simple, but we should show up. We should show up with passion. We should be curious about what we do. We should never stop learning. We should be creative, innovative in our work. We shouldn't give up. We should be confident and believe in ourselves. And lastly, we should have empathy and kindness. Like I believe that all the 6 leadership traits that our manifesto talks about is helpful. This is how you change the world.
I like that idea about kindness, and sometimes it's about being kind to yourself as well.
Yeah.
And knowing that, you know, like success as a leader in business isn't just an upward trajectory. There's going to be lots of ups and downs, or times in your life where you kind of got to put the business a little bit on the back burner because you know, raising a family or whatever the case may be. And that's okay. There's no one right way to do it. Yeah, I love that. The next question's from Ziggy Bacani from 7,000 Islands Wine Co. And he's asking the best mistake you made and what did you learn?
Gosh, I can't remember. Apart from the mistake of not having multiple suppliers, that was like one issue. One stupid mistake that I've done is, you know, on our first Make Your Mark notebook, at the back of the notebook, there is like information about the product, and we made a misspelling in the product name. It's Mark, we wrote, instead of Make Your Mark, was Mark Your Mark. And I only find out when I went for a barbecue to my friend and I was holding my notebook. This is at the time when we already sold all 2,000 notebooks. They were already like in customers' hands. And a husband of my friend said, Mark Your Mark? I was just like, oh my gosh, like if I would see, I don't know if I would be selling this product, shipping them, but by the time like it went out to people and no one ever told me.
But you wonder if anyone else really noticed, and if they did it really matter? And it's kind of goes, I mean, you hear this, you don't want to aim for perfection, you just want to aim for good enough. And I wonder if you had seen that when it arrived, would you have been them? Like, would you have sent them back, or?
I don't know. I would probably. What do you mean send them back?
Oh yeah, right.
Like it's my error, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe you would put a sticker on it.
Yeah.
Or something.
But you know, would it have mattered really at the end of the day? Maybe. Yeah.
And it actually didn't matter in the end of the day, because no one ever came back to us. Hey. So the lesson I learned is just to make sure that you triple check.
Get someone else to do the proofreading. Yes. Peter Morrissey from Hunternet, who's in the audience today, has asked, why did you take a path into being an entrepreneur, and did you feel alone as there were not many other female equivalents on your journey?
So I feel like I didn't choose the entrepreneurial pathway. Like I feel like it chosen me, or I don't know. It was just, well, I started the blog And while I was interviewing women, I started seeing their stories, and they were sometimes business owners. And I think that was I was just as inspired as I wanted to inspire others. So I've seen a different pathway to business. It didn't have to be that I work in finance and go try to be the CFO one day. That I can be the CEO tomorrow if I want. So I think that's, and also like, I don't know, believing in freedom. I love, flexibility. And at the time, the workplace wasn't that flexible how it is right now. You couldn't work from home, and in winter time, you would never even see the daylight because you are during the daylight at work. So I think that was like many different reasons, flexibility. That spoke to me.
Well, we're going to hand it over for questions now to anyone in the audience. Does anyone have a question for Kasia?
Hi, I'm Yvette. My question is, you've had a lot of change and I really admire you. It's an awesome journey that you've kind of the roadblocks and you've still moved ahead. But how did you go from Poland to Newcastle? Because that seems like another interesting journey.
Okay. So I was working in a company in finance department in Poland, in Schenk. And at the time I was looking for just different, what else can I do? I was applying for different jobs in Poland. And like during the interviews, they would tell me, oh, if you work for a few years for us, you will have opportunity to work overseas. So I was like, hang on, I'm already working in an international company. Why do I try to jump ship when I can work for the same company in a different country? So I applied for a job for like an international placement, and I ended up in Australia. So that's how I ended up in Sydney. And how I ended up in Newcastle is my husband. We used to live in Sydney for pretty much 10 years. But when two children, we have two, we just struggle. We just struggle. And my husband's parents are here in Newcastle. So that's the main reason. Family, yeah, babysitters, and also having a bigger space. I feel like the life in Newcastle is so much easier.
Resonates with me. Kylie, over to you.
Congratulations on your achievements. It's fantastic. And being one of the 25%, I'm a founder, so I appreciate how hard you've had to work. The question that I have done a little bit of research on you. And I am aware that you have an affiliate program. And so I would really like to know, as someone that's interested in creating an affiliate program for their company, have you found that that has been part of your success? And would you encourage other founders, to investigate that pathway?
I would say definitely. Like, obviously, this is just only one part of the marketing, but it's something we definitely have to utilize. And we have never been really looking at influencers, and I think that's maybe something we should look at. But our influencers are our customers, and they come to us, and they every time when someone purchases from us, a month later we ask them to join affiliate program, and many people join, and then they share it to their communities. It's a win-win. Yeah, so our store is on WooCommerce, and I use a plugin called WP Affiliate.
Any other questions? Yvette.
And I just want to excuse the fact that I left my notebook at home. So I've had to actually type my notes into here to email myself to then go and write them back in my notebook. So it's very annoying. Having come from, I guess, a retail background and not really knowing that much about you, have you ever thought about you were talking about diversification around selling your products through Myer or DJs as well as online?
Like to stock them in Myer or DJ? Yes, it's just not that easy. So I think in the past we asked David Jones or Myer, one of them, to stock our products. The response was there, come back to us when you have more stock. And at the time we didn't just have enough stock to like fill up like a bigger space, and they don't want to have just like one or three SKUs from you. And I think they also want a very generous discount on buying, I think 60%. So that was quite a bit, yeah. But obviously, yeah, maybe we should have a look at this once again.
Any other questions?
No, I haven't.
It's a marketing ploy to go and make you buy them, see?
Maybe next time when I was an event, I'll bring something so I can show them actually.
Okay, well, that's pretty much right on time, actually. Kasia, thank you so much for sharing your journey and your insights
you.
today. It's super valuable. We love female founders. We need more of them in our community. I think they just bring something really special to an ecosystem, an entrepreneurial ecosystem. And to quote another female founder, Yolanda Surgeon, I think women have a superpower and it's our intuition. And it really serves us well when we're exploring new opportunities and ventures. And I think you've demonstrated that today in your talk. So thank you again so much.
Thank you.
So I've just got a couple of quick messages for you. And I'm just making sure Peter gets his photo of the contact details. So as I mentioned earlier, we have the incubator upstairs on level 3. Co-working is back. We're here in person. And there's nothing better than networking and having those collisions with other founders around the coffee machine up on level 3. So if you're curious about co-working, please let us know. I'd love to take you upstairs and show you around. And then we also have Venture Mentor Service. So for those of you who are either pre-startup or a startup or scale up, and you have an affiliation to the University of Newcastle, someone on the founding team is a graduate or is studying at the uni, or you've undertaken an I2N program, so you co-work here, you've done one of our pre-accelerators or Entrepreneurship 101, you can make an application into Venture Mentor Service. It's a really amazing program. We have about 36 volunteer mentors from a variety of different backgrounds. Some of them are former startup entrepreneurs themselves, or they have domain expertise in areas like legals and finance and management. They join you as a team. So you get between 2 to 4 mentors in your team at every meeting that you ask of your mentor team. So if that's something you're interested in, please check out the website for all the information. And that's also where you can click on the link to make an expression of interest as well. That's it from us today. We do have another Join the Dots happening at the end of this month. Can you believe we're in May already? We just don't have the marketing material ready. But our Join the Dots event is on the last Thursday of every month. And I think this month it's going to be about advanced manufacturing, which is very male dominant actually. So if there's anyone out there who knows someone, a female working in advanced manufacturing, particularly around startups, please let us know because we'd love to feature them at Join the Dots. And it's just a fun event to get those networks happening. You never know who else owns a corgi and may be able to get you out of your next legal fix. Don't be a stranger. Keep coming along to our events. We love getting to know more and more people in the ecosystem. Thank you again, Kasia, and thank you all so much for coming along today.
Thank you.